Catherine, first of all, tell us a bit more about how this will work in practice.
Yeah, like you said, Nadia, the European Commission really doesn't want this to be called a vaccine passport. They're calling it a digital green pass or certificate. And this would essentially be the form of a QR code, those funny little square barcodes that we're all getting so used to seeing around in restaurants and things to scan and find a menu. Well, the idea would be that this would be a personal QR code which would contain information for each individual to help them to travel. It would be either showing if the person has been vaccinated, and if so, with which vaccine, with what dosage, and when that vaccination happened. Or it might show that you have had a negative coronavirus test, again, what kind of test, when that happened. Or if neither of those apply to you, if you have antibodies proven via a test. It might be that you've suffered from coronavirus and developed your own antibodies. The European Commission is saying that, look, they're recognising that vaccines are not mandatory. In any case, it's not for any European Union body to try and impose them on anyone. Health is a national responsibility of each member state. They're saying, look, some people will refuse to have these vaccines. That is their right. And other people don't have access to them at this point, particularly younger age groups in most countries at this point. So they're trying to make it a way for everybody to have access to free movement, which is one of the major pillars of the European single market, after all, by having these different criteria that could open that door and allow a person to travel. Just another issue that has been raised by a lot of people is, these QR codes. It would tend to be available on a smartphone. Of course, not everybody has a smartphone. So the European Commission is saying that there would be a paper version available as well.
Catherine, this is not the only issue that von der Leyen's been talking about today. She's also touched on how the EU will try to ensure supplies of the vaccine, given that there have been some shortfalls in deliveries from AstraZeneca. What can you tell us?
Absolutely. I mean, there's been so much talk about the AstraZeneca vaccine, hasn't there, in recent days. Ursula von der Leyen speaking about problems with vaccine supply and really singling out AstraZeneca by giving us some figures. She said that in terms of delivery of vaccines that have been contracted and paid for by the EU, Pfizer-BioNTech and Moderna have delivered what they promised for the first quarter. But Anglo-Swedish AstraZeneca is really well below what was originally contracted. So she said that 90 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine were promised in the first quarter, so up until the end of this month. That was reduced at first by AstraZeneca to 40 million, now projected to deliver just 30 million in total by the end of March, 1/3 of the promised amount. There have been rows about production of the AstraZeneca vaccine, which has sites all over different parts of the EU, as well as the UK and elsewhere. Ursula von der Leyen said that the 2 sites in the UK were meant to be producing for the European Union. And she's talking now about plans to ensure that the European Union gets the doses that it has contracted of different vaccines. I believe that there's a soundbite that we can hear from Ursula von der Leyen from that press conference that happened just a few minutes ago.
6 last weeks, 41 million doses have been exported to 33 countries. So we are exporting a lot to countries that are themselves producing vaccines. And we think this is an invitation to be open, so that we also see exports from those countries coming back to the European Union. And the second point that is of importance for us, we will reflect on whether exports to countries who have higher vaccination rates than us are still proportionate.
So Ursula von der Leyen, as you can hear there, speaking quite diplomatic language. She was hesitant to name the United Kingdom as such, or indeed the United States, which is also producing a lot of vaccine and not massively exporting them either. But when pushed in a question, she did say, look, the European Union has exported 10 million doses of vaccine to the United Kingdom, mostly the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. And she said that the EU is going to have to take a closer look at which countries it is exporting to. Now, at the 1st of February, the EU started a new transparency system looking at exports of vaccines. Ursula von der Leyen said that 315 exports had been submitted to this process. Just one of those vaccine exports had been blocked, 250,000 doses due to go from Italy to Australia. And she said that that system is going to remain in place, and the European Commission is going to be looking at two things. Are these countries, the destinations for these vaccines being exported, are those countries themselves producing and exporting vaccine back to the EU? Is there reciprocity? And she said that they will also be looking at what is that country's vaccination rate compared to EU states. I think it's no news to any of our viewers that the United Kingdom is far ahead of any European Union state in the proportion of people it's vaccinated at this point. So I would say a clear allusion to the United Kingdom at this point, although, of course, the United States in the picture as well. Ursula von der Leyen said all options are on the table in terms of securing the vaccine supply. And she said that to her, this is the crisis of the century, really trying to underline that she's taking this extremely seriously.
Our European Affairs editor, Catherine Nicholson, thank you very much indeed for that update.